I'm Chris Brown. I'm a sports artist and the official artist for the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. I've been doing the Sports Hall of Fame since 2009. So I've done roughly just shy of 120 portraits probably for them, as well as commissions. Recently been featured in Beckett magazine last year, and will be featured again this year as one of the top sports artists in the country. So I'm very, very pleased for that.
Well, for those that haven't seen, we've done a couple of these shows now, and the more we talk about stuff, the more stuff that seems to pop up, and more people that connect with us. I got an interview or a chance to talk to Kevin Mawai, and I think from our conversation about the portrait you're doing for him. So, that kind of stuff is pretty cool. And it's nice the people that you deal with. The Trevor Hoffman piece, wow, that was really nice. Why don't you tell the people about how you came across that one?
Well, it's kind of twofold, to be honest with you. Obviously, with Beckett magazine asking for work, and they kind of, it's coming out when baseball season ramps up, so they like to have baseball artwork in there. You can do a few other things, show a few other things, but it's good to have a baseball piece, when it's coming out during, right when baseball season was supposed to be.
Supposed to come out, right.
And it might still, the baseball season, who knows when that's going to start, but the magazine won't come out for, a month or so. So, but at the same time, I played college baseball with Brian Lawrence, and Brian Lawrence pitched for the Padres for about 5 years in the big leagues, and he was teammates with Trevor. So, so I kind of talked to him about seeing if he could get Trevor to sign a piece. I was going to do a piece of Brian also, because in my shows I want everything signed. It's by the athlete or the coach. So, if I'm going to do a piece, basically to do it with just pleasure, basically, then I want to try to also get it signed. And I'm not worried so much about the value of the piece. I mean, obviously it raises the value of it, but I'm not selling. So it's more of, for somebody to come to my show and that Trevor actually signed the piece, then it gives them a connection that, oh, Trevor knows about this. He's seen it. He's signed it. That's pretty cool. So through Brian, he still golfs with Trevor. They're both retired, but they golf together and that kind of thing. And so he was able to talk to him, and he's going to sign it eventually. I just got to get out to California and get that done. But trying to get it set up to where I have 3 or 4 pieces and for people to sign. So I'm not just making a trip for one signature.
Right.
Trevor Hopkins wouldn't be worth it because it is. That's a big one. So
now, since it's been 6-7 months now, I think. What have you done in the last few months that you went, wow, that was not expected, or I got to do this piece? Because I know when we talked before, you had a couple of those oh wow moments.
Well, I did have my first solo show. Well, really my second solo show. This was the first one where everything was signed. Okay. And I wasn't really planning on doing it this soon. I was going to try to get more pieces. I'd like to get 40 or 50. I think that would be a good rounded out show. I think I had 22, but it was in a smaller gallery here in town, Elm Street Studio. Real nice, great place to show. And the fact that it was local allowed for a lot of the people that I know around here to be able to come and see it. And we had a good turnout. It was great. The only thing I had for sale was prints that I numbered and signed. I just kind of did an online poll of which pieces people would like to buy prints of. And so I had about, 7 or 8 different prints, but about 50 of them available. And so we sold some of those and kind of got the ball rolling on that too. But so, we talked the last time about, I'm going to move around here. Talked a little bit last time about being able to, do shows like that. And so it was kind of a nice start. I don't know if you can see this real well. This is a really big piece that I've just recently done. It's Ronnie Coleman.
Okay, right now your screen is there we go. Oh yeah. I saw a little bit of that on the Facebook thing, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a huge piece. It's so big I can't even fit it in my storage. But Ronnie's going into the Hall of Fame this summer, and so he's agreed to also sign this. I wanted, with my last show, once I got it up, it made me realize too that I needed some bigger pieces. So everything that I've done this time or recently has been pretty good size.
That's a large man. So, I was gonna say that's a large man. Deserves a large canvas area.
Right, and I've always had an interest in lifting, not so much bodybuilding. I don't have the body type for that, but always lifting, being a former pro baseball player. Right. It becomes part of your life, and then staying in shape is important. So, but I've watched documentaries on Ronnie, and obviously being an 8-time Mr. Olympia, that's something that doesn't happen very often. So, so I wanted to do a really cool piece, and I think that's going to be a piece that gets a lot of attention in the shows.
Well, and he's an impressive individual. Like I said, 8-time Mr. Olympia. I mean, think about how that happens. One time, okay, but to spread it out over the course of years, I mean, as you said, as a former athlete, you stay in shape, but can you stay in that kind of shape for 8 years? Yeah. Anybody's career starts to go downhill after a while.
And it's just amazing too, because he was, I think at his biggest was almost 300 pounds. So, you can imagine just 300 pounds of nothing but muscle. That's incredible.
I can imagine 300 pounds, but none of it's muscle. So,
yeah. It's easier to put on 300 pounds the other way.
Yeah. Well, when we start, you said you're looking at the lack of a baseball season. I don't want to get into all that because that makes me want to cry. But when we get to that point of now, what's coming up next? I mean, is it okay? We don't have baseball right now, so we can focus on a couple other things, or is it I'm feeling in a baseball kind of mood?
As far as like my artwork,
right?
Well, I don't know. I've been taking on commissions. I'm a part of a pro baseball alumni page on Facebook where there's about 14,000 former players, some current players like Kurt Schilling and Jack McDowell, guys like that are on there. As long as and then there's guys like me who just played some minor league ball. But I'm able to connect with those guys, and a lot of times I'll share my baseball artwork with them, and then I'll get commissions that way. So, a lot of those guys have been kind of signing up for stuff, to get some things that they want done. And I've been doing that for a couple years, but recently I've got a few big ones kind of in the works, for guys like that. So that's a nice little venue that I can go down and a nice little resource that I can reach out. Because, when you have that many players, not that all of them can afford it, just because they play pro baseball doesn't necessarily mean they've got a bunch of money that they want to throw around at artwork. But there are some guys that have the ability and they want to have some artwork. One I'm talking to right now, it's not even a piece about him. He wants a really large piece for his den or his living room of a small child looking out onto a baseball field, watching a game. Okay. So stuff like that. I'm doing. Probably even show you this one. I got it right behind me here. Let me flip this. I'm working on a commission of a pilot right now. So getting pretty close. I got to finish the sun visor on his helmet, as you can see. I got the jet in the background, and
okay.
I'm liking that. I think it's a cool piece, and wouldn't mind doing more of those. Obviously, I like to, honor the military guys in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. Anyway, so my brother's a lifelong Marine too, so always have that connection there.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the former players. I've found a few of them through LinkedIn as we found each other, and they all have, not all, but most of them have not just a story to tell about their playing days, but now what they're doing after that. And kind of that's where we started of, okay, now how do you parlay what you did into what you do? As we all know, careers are going to come to an end athletically at some point, one way or another. But then how do you go on from that? And, talking to some of these guys, some of the stories are incredible. They take what they've done and make the world a better place, and some of them just want to sit in the house and look at pictures of themselves. But, but it's a nice thing to say, all right, I've taken what I did and I've learned from that. And as you said, how to train, how to organize, how to study, those kind of things. And then not only just in the business world, but, adding in charities or whatnot. So I think that's a great thing to talk to those guys and have that pipeline. That's pretty cool. And then, as far as the service, my father's in service, my brother was in service. So they made sure I didn't go into service because they did, So, yeah, I've always had a soft place for those guys. So that's pretty cool. So what's on the horizon, do you think?
Well, I've got some pieces in the works. Another teammate of mine was Travis Hafner. Played with the Cleveland Indians. I think he finished up with the Yankees his last year. He lives in Tampa, and apparently a lot of the guys, big name pro baseball players that are retired, Fred McGriff and guys like that, Joe Torre, all those guys kind of live in that area. And, of course they have a network of people. And so talking to Travis, I'm trying to use resources. And as far as I'm concerned, guys that I've played with that made it to the show, that played with all these guys or know them, for me, that's a pipeline. I'm using a resource that a lot of artists aren't going to have simply because they didn't play with these guys, didn't have that career. So through him, I was able to kind of set up some things with Pete Alonso, going to sign a piece. I did one with Travis. So just kind of working through him, that I think I'm going to have a pretty good resources as far as guys that are in that Tampa area. I'm hoping to get some really big name guys. I think that'll be what people really want to see when they go to my show. I can get 700 minor league players, but it'd be like doing a portrait of myself. If I put a portrait of myself up there, it's not going to mean a whole lot to anybody besides my mom. So I'm trying to get some of these big name guys, and so that's kind of my goal, as well as obviously to keep doing the Hall of Fame stuff. That's important to me. That we've got a really big group going in this summer, and Nick Saban, Phil Robertson from Duck Dynasty is going in. Did a big painting to him, extra painting to him, which was awesome. Because he's got that huge beard and he's wearing camo and pretty. He looked like he just climbed out of a duck blind after being in that movie. So it was awesome. He got the paint on his face and just really enjoyed doing that. Kerry Kittles, NBA players going in, which I think is pretty cool. Obviously Ronnie, Sweet Lou Dunbar, Harlem Globetrotters.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, he's going in. So I plan on doing an extra piece of him too, because I just think the opportunity to have a Harlem Globetrotter, piece in the show and having it signed by Sweet Lou would be a nice thing to have.
Oh, yeah. Well, you mentioned, just a couple names just jumped out of me. The Phil Robertson thing, that's got to be a detail. Just the beard itself's got to be detailed.
Yeah. His beard took as long as the rest of the portrait.
I was going to say, yeah, that's got to be crazy. And then, as we look at the Villanova and then the NBA Finals, Kerry Kittles, that's a great group of people. Sweet Lou Dunbar. People that are of a certain age don't understand how important the Globetrotters were, and understand.
Yeah, I got to go. When was it? A month or so ago, they came to Fort Worth and played at Dickies Arena, and so I was able to go. I took my wife and son, and they still put on an outstanding show. It's fun. It's fun to watch. From the beginning to the end, it's exciting. So my son, who's only 4, who really doesn't sit still for anything, right. He was glued to it, and he watched the whole time. and then I was able to, to go down and talk to Sweet Lou after the game, and he took a picture with my wife and my son and myself, and so getting to do stuff like that, and then also obviously being the one that does his Hall of Fame portrait, that to me it's special because I've connected with a lot of sports artists in the world, but what I get to do because of the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is very unique. That's the nice thing about it. I'm the only one that gets to do that kind of thing. So
right. And
I certainly don't take it for granted. I love every minute of it.
And we're in year 11 of this now.
Yeah.
Wow. That's, when you first started this, do you think this is going to keep going this long? And, was it, I mean, the initial commission was just like a couple of paintings and then we'll see what happens next year?
No. Well, actually, the previous artist was a husband and wife combo. The husband did it for, 25 years. And then he developed some eye problems. And so he turned it over to his wife, who was also an artist, and she did it for the next 25 years.
Oh, okay.
So that's 50 years. That was the first 50 years of the Hall of Fame with just two artists. And so when they signed me on, the deal was this is a lifelong commitment. So basically it's do it as long as you can still pick up a pencil and you can see it. So, obviously doing a good job and continuing to get better every single year is, something that they want, but it's obviously one of my goals. If I'm not trying to get better every single time, then what am I doing? So,
right.
So I kind of knew that it was going to be a long commitment. I certainly didn't envision, at least right away, kind of the stuff that I was going to get to do and the people that I was going to get to meet. And at the time I didn't know we were going to have a son. And so Maddox getting to meet Peyton Manning, taking pictures of Peyton, Peyton signed a print for him, and so he's got that personal, little note to him on one of my pieces, that'll hang in his room. And he's 4. He doesn't know who Peyton Manning is yet, but obviously, when he gets older, he's gonna be like, what? So, it's just been a really awesome experience. Just, obviously being the artist is special, but getting to meet those kind of people and seeing how proud they are when they see the portrait and they're happy with how we did things, knowing that that's going to be in there permanently, that's special too. The day that I get to show them their portrait in the Hall of Fame Museum is a very special day. It's like Christmas for me. So.
Well, get that 4-year-old. He's got 14 years. Get him up to speed here because he's going to have to take over in 25 years, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, who's left that – I mean, you get to meet a lot of people. You've mentioned a couple of people. I'm an Indians fan, so Travis Hafner is big to me. Anybody from that era was just, oh, my goodness. That was a group of players that, if you could – like an Albert Bell went to LSU. That's one of those things where you go, they're all intermingled some kind of way.
Yeah.
So when you start thinking about who are we missing, not necessarily the bucket list, but who are we missing that is kind of right now we've kind of went, well, maybe we need to get this guy on board.
Yeah. I started thinking a little bit about, some of their ages, if they're getting up there in age, and that they're, that's just life. Mother Nature is undefeated. So, you start thinking first, all right, well, and I think in that same sense, I happened to be in spring training when Jimmy Pearsall was a outfield coach for the Cubs. Right. And so, and I got to shag for him and protect him because he would hit from behind second base because he was in his 80s already. So, hitting balls to the outfielders, he had to start from second base. So doing that all from the outfield or, during batting practice, we had to watch the back. And so I got to know him a little bit, just honorary as ever. But I started thinking, man, I would really like to get a portrait of Jimmy, personally. So I had it, and then get him to sign it. And literally that year he passed away. And so that was one of those things where, like, all right, I need to start thinking about guys that are a little bit older, you know, that opportunity is not going to be there forever, you know. So so I don't know. I mean, there's just so many, as far as like baseball players, there's so many guys that I would love to get, you know, and not necessarily just big name people. You know, you start thinking Cal Ripken, you know, Hall of Famers, those kind of things. You start thinking about that. That's what everybody thinks. But as a baseball player, you know, and somebody that it was just that was my life forever, I start thinking about players that mean more to me and who I liked, you know, growing up. You know, so
well, it's funny that you say it that way, because as a fan, or as a casual fan, I guess I should say, you hear about the Cal Ripkens or the going to the Cubs, the Ryan Sandbergs or somebody like that. But as an actual real fan, I'd like, can I get Sean Dunston? You know, can I get Gary Matthews? So those are the, you know, the guys that make the team tick. You know, those are the, you know, the Manny Trios of the world. Those are the guys that you go, wait a second. Now I'm dating myself, obviously, but those are the guys that, you know, the stars are only up to bat 3 times a game, you know, only pitch every 5 days. It's the other guys that, and you know, from being out there, that a team doesn't win unless everybody performs. And maybe the guys that don't get that kind of love are the ones you go, wait a second. For some reason, Keith Moreland just jumped into my head. Those are the kind of guys that you think, you know, on WGN, they never talk about them, but those were the guys that made the team go. So he said, mentioned Jimmy Pearsall, that kind of, the guys become coaches. You know, those are the players that, the people that I like talking to, because A, not a lot of people want to talk to them, which is kind of bad, and people forgot about them, but B, because they're the ones that are still normal, if I guess that's the best way of putting it, you know, and they're still down there. Those are the ones that are trying to give back. Not to say the stars aren't, but you know what I mean? It's like, okay, this is the guy I want to talk to. So, and to have a portrait of somebody like that, I think they would be more understanding of what you're trying to do. So I like the way you're looking at that. Yeah,
and through experience too. Not that some of the big name people aren't as down to earth. They have so many people wanting stuff from them on a constant basis that it becomes, you know, whether they know it or not, they put up kind of a wall.
Sure.
You know, because they have to keep out the people who are just trying to get something from them, as opposed to, you know, like when I got to go to the Cubs Hall of Fame party for Lee Smith last summer, you know, that was, I mean, you talk about a kid in a candy shop.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you had Andre Dawson, Ryan Sandberg, all these guys, Jim Leyritz, all walking around, you know, and there was no pressure because they knew that the people who were there were supposed to be there. You know? And so I could walk up to Ryan, and I did. I walked up to Ryan, and I told him about a story that when I was in spring training, he was hired as a spring training coach. You know, and he walked out on the field, and everybody was scared to talk to him because he was a baseball god, you know, and I was like, you know, maybe stupid on my part, but I was like, heck with this. I'm talking to him. You know? So I just walked up to him. And so last summer I went up to him and I told him the same story. I said, it's kind of funny. You know, you're kind of standing here. I said, and everybody's over there afraid to talk to you, you know, afraid to walk up to you. And he's like, oh, I'm in incognito, you know, because he's wearing a suit. But he was able to sit there and talk to me and just a normal conversation because he knew I didn't want anything from him but to talk to him. You know, so, you know, that's nice. But some of these guys who aren't in the Baseball Hall of Fame are a lot more willing to spend time to talk to you.
Right.
You know, Brad Hopp lives in this area. He's connected to some people that I'm connected to. And so I've got to spend a little time with him. He's signed a piece of mine that's in my shows. But very, very down to earth, you know, and he hasn't even been retired but just a couple years. So
right.
But super nice guy, and we'll spend the time to talk to you and helps people, helps kids that are trying to learn. So, you know, it's guys like that you want to spend some time with, and you know, it has a personal story. So
I had a similar experience at the Pro Football Hall of Fame that my buddy got us, you know, journalists passed us, and we were in behind the scenes and all that. And we were in the in the buffet tent, I guess is the best way of putting it. And there weren't any other journalists there, and there weren't any other people there. It was just all the players. And of course, they knew we weren't Hall of Famers, but they kind of looked at us like, what are these guys doing here? But since we weren't bothering them, they was like, went about their business. And to see them as a group of Hall of Famers understanding they're just people, but they're with people like themselves, you know, and to watch them enjoy themselves, I felt like I need to do an interview. No, I don't. Just observe and go from there. You know, don't even talk to them.
Sometimes, absolutely. Sometimes just sitting back and watching is more rewarding than actually getting to talk to them. You know, I got to sit and watch Peyton Manning show Archie, his dad, around the museum for the first time. You know, just them two. I was in the hall just watching. You know, and I didn't want to interrupt them because I thought, what a special moment. You know, and so just sitting back and watching that, I mean, that's something nobody else got to see, you know, but what a special moment just to see dad with son, you know, and on their level, you know, it's just really cool. And it's like you literally got to be a bird sitting in a tree watching, you know, something like that take place. It was just one of the coolest things I'll remember.
Now, I'm going to contradict my entire life now, but sometimes things don't need to be documented, you know, and if everyone else says that, then I'm out of a job. But, I mean, you don't necessarily have to have everything, you know, it's just like if someone agrees to take a picture with you, that's cool. But I always say, I don't need the picture on here. Handshake is good enough. Well, you can't do a handshake now, but fist bump or whatever you want to do. But the idea of, you know, I don't need it. I don't need to prove to anyone else that I spoke to you. I just did. That to me is good enough, you know. So I don't have a lot of those pictures lying around. But I do have some of them. But, you know, it's not like I have to. Again, you document that on campus, which is, I think, fantastic. So when I look at what you do is that it provides us kind of an insight into a time when they were who, but it also gives on how you look at them. And as an athlete, I think that's something we don't watch the games. You say on the nuance of emotion or movement or something. Just a little piece of that Coleman. Recognize the veins and the tendons and all that stuff that are popping up because not think about, but you understand what it takes to work out, what it takes to be, and you have things that I don't think anyone else, most other people don't have. So I look at the work. The Ed Reed piece was just blew me away. Just blew me away because you, like you said, you can see him seeing you. Yeah.
Well, and that's honestly
that was
another aspect of the Trevor Hoffman piece is that, you know, I could have done just one. Oh, sorry. You cutting out?
You're still there.
Oh, okay. So the Trevor Hoffman piece, you know, that's one of those two where because I pitched, you know, I could have done just one pose, you know, and that kind of thing too. But I thought it was really cool to show him going through his different, you know, the balance position, the stride position, the power position, those kind of things in the release. Whereas, you know, obviously I've got a pretty good experience with that, not only because I pitched, because I also was a pitching coach. You know, I know when those things are supposed to happen. I mean, obviously you need the photographs, but, you know, you can't just put them side by side. They don't make sense. You've got to know, well, at this point, he's going to drop down this much. He's going to, you know, he's going to be this far more forward or down the mound at this point. And so, you know, that piece was going to happen anyway. But another sports artist just kind of made a comment, and he's basically saying, well, you're really good at those single shots, you know. And I think he meant that as a compliment, but I took it as, oh, really? Like, so you don't think I can do this? And so I thought, all right, well, let me show you what I can do. So now, go ahead and do something that I haven't seen too much of. So, so yeah, that Trevor Hoffman piece is it's got so much wrapped around it as far as going. So,
well, what my brother's a sculptor. What he's told me is that the picture helps quite a bit. Obviously, it gives you a base of frame of reference. But if you just do the picture, well, anybody can do that. You know, if you just do the photograph that you're handed, why do we need you? You know, if you just replicate that, there's no big deal. And you have a feel, like you said, for having, especially the baseball, having been there, having been inside the picture and knowing what's going on from there. So that to me is just, you know, really impressive. So I hope that we get, as we spoke in the first show that we did, we can get more viewings and more galleries and things of that nature, get them involved and get more people going, you know, to see what you can do. But again, this is a perfect format, as we said off air, the timing of, you know, the unfortunate pandemic thing, that people can now tune in and look at some more stuff. We can put some more information out there. So hopefully get some more going on.
Yeah. And I appreciate you having me on. You know, you could have anybody on. So I appreciate you having me on and spreading the word.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it very much. I tell you what, before we start getting over sappy here, let's leave it at that, and we'll come back another time. How's that?
That sounds good.